Hey everybody, Keep7 here, back with another Magic the Gathering Arena video, and today we are going to do a recap of the Kaldheim spoiler stream that was done by Magic and Wizards of the Coast on their Twitch channel. So they just kind of went through a lot of the cards that are going to be coming out. A lot of the cards that they announced or that they showed off are cards that we already saw, that I already have on previous streams. I'll try to reference them as much as I can, but I really tried to focus on either new information, new cards, new mechanics, stuff like that. So yeah, let's get right into it. So, I mean, obviously they went into a lot of the history and like the theme of the set. It's Vikings and gods and myths and legends, blah, blah, blah. But to get into more specific stuff, there are Planeswalkers that are going to be returning, and there's some new Planeswalkers. There's Kaya the Inexorable, which we already spoiled on one of my other videos. I'll put the card up here anyway, just so you can see it again. So Kaya the Inexorable is one of the Planeswalkers. Then we have Nico Aeris, which is another new card. I'll be putting that up here. And I'm just actually going to try to take a look at it myself. Nico, I think. So an X Planeswalker cast, so you can pay X mana for it. So it's X, a white, and 2 blues. When Nico Aeris enters the battlefield, create X shard tokens. They're enchantments with pay 2, sacrifice this enchantment, scry 1, then draw a card. Nico, they're not gender conforming, so they have a +1 ability. Up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature deals damage to this turn, return it to its owner's hand. A -1 ability, Nico Aeris deals 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you have drawn this turn, and then another -1, create a shard token, and they start with 3 loyalty. So that's a very complicated card. I'm not going to try to go into whether or not I think the cards are good or try to think about them in the context of Standard. There's so much information today that I'm just going to try to show off the cards for you, let you read them, and you can decide whether or not you think they're good or not. But it's an interesting card, and it's an interesting Planeswalker, or they are an interesting Planeswalker, to be sure. We also have Varkell, who's a new Elvish Planeswalker, quite a hunk. They didn't show off a card for him. They just showed him off, which they've been doing a lot. He's fucking ripped. Good for him. Must be fucking nice. And then next we have Tybalt. Tybalt is the last returning Planeswalker that at least they announced. I don't know if there will be any more. It just looks like it's going to be these 4. So Tybalt has an actual Planeswalker card, and then he also has another card. So we'll go over both of them now. So Tybalt, his Planeswalker card, Tybalt Cosmic Imposter. It's 7 mana, 5, black and a red. As Tybalt enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with, you may play cards exiled with Tybalt Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast those spells. He has a +2 ability, exile the top card of each player's library, and a -3 ability, exile target artifact or creature, and a -8 ability, exile all cards from all graveyards. And add 3 red mana, and he starts with 5 loyalty. And he's a dual modal-faced card. So that's one side of him, and then the other side of him is this new, I guess it's a god that he's impersonating called Valky, which I think is supposed to be like Loki from Norse mythology. So the god that he's impersonating on the other side of his card is this god Valky. It's a 2 mana, 1 and a black legendary god creature. When Valky enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card they revealed this way until Valky leaves the battlefield. And then you can pay X, choose a creature card exiled with Valky with converted mana cost X. Valky becomes a copy of that card. So very cool. I mean, whether or not it's playable, whether or not it's good, I think Tybalt, the Planeswalker version, and Valky, the legendary god creature version of Tybalt, both very, very cool. Be interested to play with both of those cards, especially now that Pathways, we're going to have a Rakdos pathway, so Rakdos is going to be a bit more playable. So those are just kind of the Planeswalker cards, and obviously that's the Tybalt dual modal-faced card. We'll get into more of that later. So I guess just to kind of get into the world building of Kaldheim, what it's all about. It's a plane, so Kaldheim obviously part of the multiverse of Magic the Gathering and stuff like that, but the plane itself is divided into 10 realms, I think they said. 1, 2, 3, it doesn't matter. But all these different realms are interconnected via this one, it's called the World Tree, and it's where all of these other, realms break off of. They can interact with each other. They can collide with each other. There's all this stuff, but there's Bredegard, which is where humans reside. Axgard, which is where dwarves reside. Notfold or Notvold, which is where trolls reside. Karfell, which is Draugr, which kind of like Skyrim. They're like Viking zombies, kind of. Immerstrom, which is where demons reside. Istfell, which is spirits that maybe didn't die gloriously in combat. Sternheim, which is where the Valkyrie reside, where they bring people who did die in combat. So I guess that would be like Sternheim would be kind of like Valhalla. Surtland, which is where the giants reside. Giants can be either fire giants or frost giants. Lityarn, which is where the shapeshifters reside, and then Stemfar or Sternfar, which is where elves reside. And there are two clans of elves: wood elves and shadow elves. And in Bredegard, where the humans reside, there's like 5 or 6 different clans. I'm just giving you guys this information because they announced it on the thing. I'm not going to get into every single one of the clans and what their names are. I couldn't record all that information. It was going too fast. But yeah, so the realms can interact with each other. 2 realms can collide with one another, causing what they called a doom scar. But essentially, because all these things are separate doesn't mean they can't interact. And then there was this whole they did this whole thing about like their metal collaboration, and they reviewed all the cards that were spoiled by metal bans already. So Kaya, Magda, Pyre of Heroes, Halvar, the Pathways, stuff like that. So all stuff that has been previously in my videos that we've already seen. So we don't need to go over those, but again, it's a recap of what they said in the stream. So I'm just trying to get all the information that they had in the stream and present it to you in a more condensed fashion. So there are obviously mechanics. Let's not the mechanics. Let's just go over some other stuff. So modal DFCs are back. Pathway lands are back. There's this new god. There's this legendary god Alrund. Alrund is a 5-mana 3/2 blue. He's a modal DFC. He's one of the modal DFCs. He's a legendary god creature. On the front side, he is the legendary god. He's a 1/1. He gets a +1/+1 for each card in your hand and for each foretold card you own in exile. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards from the chosen type into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. And on the back side, it is Haka, Whispering Raven, which is a 2-mana, 1 blue legendary bird creature with flying. When Haka, Whispering Raven, deals combat damage to a player, return it to its owner's hand and then scry 2. And it's a 2/3. Alrund is a one-eyed raven god, so I think it's supposed to be like Odin. And all the modal DFCs look like they are legendary gods on the front and some sort of permanent on the back. So we've already seen Halvar. Now we've seen Alrund. Sigurd, I don't think, was a modal DFC, and she wasn't a god either. She was god favored. But it looks like all of the modal DFCs are gods on one side and some sort of permanent on the back. We saw with Halvar it was a sword, and with Alrund it's a bird. Sagas are returning. We've seen a few of those, and we actually got to see a new one. Let me see if I can find it. Binding of the Old Gods. This one looks interesting. Binding of the Old Gods is 4 mana, 2, a black and a green. 3 sagas, or 3 parts, 3 chapters. Chapter 1, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. Chapter 2, search your library for a forest card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. And Saga 3, creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn. It has some very cool wood carving art. I think that's really good, but again, I'm not going to try to talk too much about each individual card. We're just going to try to present you guys with the information. And then lastly, the snow mechanic is returning, and there's snow instants and sorceries now. And we have an example of a snow instant for you here. And lo and behold, they actually did it. They printed Lightning Bolt, or a version of Lightning Bolt, into Standard. So Frostbite is a 1 red mana snow instant. Frostbite deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, it deals 3 damage instead. And that's target creature or planeswalker, so it's not really Lightning Bolt because it can't attack a player, but it's pretty close. It's 1 mana to do 3 damage. Can't do it to a player, but you can do it to You can do it to a creature or planeswalker, which is pretty good. It's not quite there. Lightning Bolt isn't in standard yet. Of course, I just make a video about Lightning Bolt being able to be in standard, and they go ahead and print this, which is just hilarious. But again, it cannot target your opponent, which I think is a huge kind of downside. So they still are kind of cowards. They still have not printed Lightning Bolt in standard, and they need to go ahead and do that. So there are two new mechanics being brought into in the Kaldheim set. One is Boast, which we've seen. It was on that it was like it was like that Dragonkin Berserker card. But Boast is essentially you have to attack to trigger Boast. They showed off this new card with that ability. It is Varkell, Bloodsky Sire, 3 mana, 2 and a black, legendary demon rogue creature with Death Touch. He's a 2/3 and he has this Boast ability that is 2 mana, 1 and a black. Target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts it onto the top of and puts that card on top of it. And Boast, you can only activate this ability if this creature attacked this turn and only once each turn. So you have to attack with Varkell, and then if he is attacking, I don't know if this can be done during combat or if it has to be done after combat. It's kind of unclear. It says attacked, so I'm assuming this is done on your second main phase. So you can trigger the Boast ability on your second main phase to essentially tutor, and you're attacking with a 2/3, which on stream they said, it has Death Touch, so you're going to want to be attacking, but most of my Death Touchers I want to hold back for blocks and to prevent my opponent from attacking most of the time. Sometimes it's rare that you have a 2/3 Death Touch attacker, especially with Gruul. Okay, I didn't say we'd talk too much about it. Anyway, but yeah, so that's the Boast ability, and then we have the Foretell ability, which we've already kind of we've seen on my other spoiler videos. But they showed off this new card, Alrund's Epiphany, which is a 7 mana, 5 and 2 blue sorcery. Create 2 1/1 blue bird creature tokens with flying. Take an extra turn after this one and exile Alrund's Epiphany. It also has a Foretell cost of 6 mana, 4 and 2 blue. And during your turn, you may pay 2, exile this card face down from your hand, and then cast it later for its Foretell cost. So, you essentially you discount 1 mana. You can do a 2 colorless mana sink to put this card face down, and then at a later turn you essentially get to play it for 1 mana less, although you paid 2 mana to play it face down on another turn. But if that was sunken mana anyway, I mean that's pretty good. But yeah, so that's the Foretell ability. It's the ability to pay 2 mana at any time to play a card face down, so that you can pay it later for its Foretell cost, whether or not that's whether or not it's value-wise, if that's good or not. There was also another card with Foretell that they showed off, Sorolf's Packmate, which is a 4 mana, 3 and a green wolf creature. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. It's a 3/3, and it has a Foretell cost of 2 mana, 1 and a green. So during your turn, again, you can pay 2 to exile it and then cast it for its Foretell cost later. So, if you pay 2 mana, if you have 2 mana to sink into, okay, yeah, I said I wouldn't talk about each card, but I like that card. So let's keep moving. So those are the 2 returning mechanics, Boast and Foretell, and then the last section of the stream just went over kind of collector, set, and draft boosters, and they really went into depth on set boosters. So set boosters will have an art card, a land card, 6 commons and uncommons that are part of a theme. So you'll have 6 cards in a row that all kind of fit a certain theme. There will be 2 wild cards that could be anything, from a common to a mythic. 1 guaranteed rare or mythic rare. A head turner slot, which is a snow common, uncommon, or something like that, and then a guaranteed foil, and then the last card would be a token, add, mini game card, or a Magic history card. So some card from Magic's history that is somewhat relevant to the set, either a snow card or something like that, to show off some sort of mechanic. So that's kind of everything that they went through. I think I touched on most of the cards that they showed off. They showed off Sigrid again, so we saw that. Let's see. So they showed off Old Growth Troll. Old Growth Troll is a 3 green mana, 4/4. Troll warrior creature with trample. When Old Growth Troll dies, if it was a creature, return it to the battlefield. return it to the battlefield. It's an aura enchantment with enchant forest you control, and enchanted forest has tap to add 2 green mana, and pay 1 mana, tap it, sacrifice this land, create a tapped 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample. And it's a rare. So that's pretty cool. So mono green potentially getting more gas, which is kind of cool. So that's Old Growth Troll. There's a dwarf, legendary dwarf warrior, Cole the Forge Master. He's Boros colors, so red and a white, 2/2. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. So that's kind of cool. I already showed off Frostbite. Here's Inga. Inga Rune Eyes is a 4 mana, 3 and a blue legendary human wizard creature. When Inga Rune Eyes enters the battlefield, scry 3. When Inga Rune Eyes dies, draw 3 cards if 3 or more creatures died this turn, and she is a 3/3. We have a Shapeshifter here with Masked Vandal. He is a 2 mana, 1 and a green Shapeshifter creature with Changeling. This card is every creature type. When Masked Vandal enters the battlefield, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls, and they are a 1/3. We went over Valky, we went over Tybalt. So there are snow basics and snow dual lands. So I'll show those off. The snow basics, obviously, this is part of the snow mechanic. So the one thing I'm concerned about is, do snow covered lands are they just strictly better? Like, is there a reason to play a different, like, are these going to be the basics for Kaldheim, or are there going to be other Kaldheim basics that aren't snow covered? And if, like, why would we ever play a non-snow basic? If they do the exact same thing, it's just the upside is if you're using snow mechanics, you can have the snow basic lands. What would be the idea of having any other kind of basic land for Kaldheim? So I'm just kind of worried about them continuing to fill up the pointless land slots in our inventory and in our collections, having to scroll through page after page of planes to find the ones that you bought, to find the ones that you like and use regularly and stuff like that. There really, I think, needs to be a way in the client to hide all of the lands that you're not using, especially in a situation like this. If these are just strictly better than another basic they might print in the Kaldheim set, what is the point of having that other land? If this does the exact same thing but has upside, and it's a land, like, what's the point of another basic land? So, and then they have snow dual lands, which is kind of interesting. They're all enter the battlefield tapped, so make of that what you will. But they're all snow lands, and they're all I don't know. So we have the Boros, we have Alpine Meadow, which is Boros snowland. We have Arctic Treeline, which is Celestia snowland. We have Glacial Floodplain, which is Azorius Snowland. We have Highland Forest, which is Gruul Snowland. We have Ice Tunnel, which is Dimir Snowland. We have Rimewood Falls, which is Simic Snowland. We have Snowfield Sinkhole, which is an Orzhov Snowland. Sulphurous Mire, which is a Rakdos Snowland. Volatile Fjord, which is an Izzet Snowland. And Woodland Chasm, which is a Golgari Snowland. So we have a wide variety of tapped snow lands and tapped dual lands to cover, if you want to play Golgari, Izzet, like a lot of the most popular versions of dual casting cost or 2-color decks. If you have multicolored decks, you're getting a good tapped land, a good snow tapped land for each of them. So that's pretty exciting. Having them enter tapped obviously is a downside, but getting more dual lands is always nice, even if they are tapped. You don't have to play 4 of these, and I wouldn't recommend it. But if you're playing a slower deck that can afford to have a turn 1 snow land tapped played, I think some of these are obviously a good include. Let's see, are these all rares? Doesn't say, it just says L. So, I mean, I would hate to have to craft those if they were rares, but it's nice to see. So let's see what else. We went over Alrund's Epiphany. Oh, we have Elvish Warmaster, which there was another elf card that we spoiled in, again, one of my past videos. It was like a 4 mana elves you get control, get +1/+1 and tap it for 3 green mana, which is kind of bad. But this one looks interesting. 2 mana, 1 and a green, elf warrior, 2/2. Whenever One or more other elves enters the battlefield under your control. Create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. And then for 7 mana, 5 and 2 green, elves you control get +2/+2 and gain Death Touch until end of turn. So that's pretty good. It's a pretty good value for a 2/2. For a 2 mana 2/2, I don't think terrible. And I think that was about it. I can't see anything else in my list here. Oh, at the very end of the stream there was kind of like a little, I don't know if you want to call it like a not post-credit scene, but it kind of was a post-credit scene, I suppose. But essentially they just confirmed, and I said Vorniclex in my original video. It's actually Vorinclex. So Vorinclex, the 6 mana, 4 and 2 green, 6/6 that had, like, you know, all the cool abilities that I was really excited about. So he's getting a Phyrexian version with the Phyrexian, you know, the Phyrexian language. You can get a Phyrexian version of Vorinclex, which is pretty cool. So that card, again, I'll put the old card in so you can see it regularly, and then I'll show you what they spoiled with the Phyrexian, you know, the Phyrexian lettering and all that stuff. It looks super cool. I really love the Phyrexian cards. So I'm super excited about that. I will probably, if I don't find it, I will probably buy a version of that because I just like it. But more or less, the Vorinclex that we saw earlier from my previous video has been confirmed to be a card. And like the Kaya, obviously the Kaya the Inexorable that I showed has been confirmed. Sigrid has been confirmed. So a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing has been confirmed. The fact that there's a Serulf's Packmate means that I think Serulf World Eater has been confirmed. I'll just take the end of the video here to say what I'm excited about. Obviously, Vorinclex. The Binding of the Gods, Binding of the Old Gods looked really cool. I'm very excited for that card. I mean, just destroying 4 mana to destroy a non-land permanent an opponent controls, and then it ramps you on turn 2, and then the creatures getting Death Touch isn't really a huge deal, but it's something. Really excited for that card. Nico looks like an interesting card. I can't tell if I like it, if I think Nico is going to be good or bad yet, but it's an interesting card. Old Growth Troll, I think, brings something to mono green. Tybalt looks like he's going to be a lot of fun. It looks like it's going to be a really fun set, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, all these cards that were released today, Frostbite, almost Lightning Bolt, all these cards have something to be excited about, or at least what they showed in the video. Alrind looks really interesting. Alrind's Epiphany, you get it's dangerously close to Nexus, where we're dealing with extra turns. I think they did it really well with Teferi Master of Time, where it's very difficult to get that extra turn with Teferi Master of Time, but every now and then you get it, and that's essentially what ends the game. And that's what a Planeswalker's ultimate should be. It should be difficult to achieve, but when you get it, it basically ends the game. I think that's pretty cool. And they made it very difficult, obviously, but Teferi sometimes gets his ultimate off, and you can take the extra turn. If there's a way that Alrind's Epiphany can be abused, I was nervous about Teferi Master of Time, if his ultimate could be abused. Obviously, it ended up being very balanced. If somebody finds a way to abuse Alrind's Epiphany, obviously it's going to suck. It'll be like Nexus of Fate all over again. So I am nervous about that, but it's an expensive card, and it doesn't look very... I mean, you create 2 1/1 birds, which isn't very good, but the extra turn is obviously what would make the card. So if somebody finds a way to break that, that would suck. But everything else looks super interesting, so I'm very, very excited for the set. Everything I'm seeing for the set, like every now and then you see a dud. They're obviously trying to push tribal and all that, and you don't know if it's going to work out, but like for the most part, I'm getting very, very excited for the set. I love the mythology of it. I love the history and the world that they're building. I'm loving the cards that they're printing. I mean, some of these cards look really, really fucking cool, and I'm really excited. So yeah, that's kind of a brief overview of the stream. Those are the cards that they showed. So if you missed it, hopefully I can collect all the information here for you and present it to you. Again, hopefully I didn't ramble too much. I tried to just keep it to presenting you guys with the information, as this is a recap and less of me trying to talk about the cards. But that's what I'm excited for. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll catch you in the next one.